Hey guys, what's up? My name's Rob, and today I'm going to tell you my testimony of Jesus, what he's done for me in my life, what I went through. So, I had a pretty much normal life growing up, 2 parents in the house, they're married. Things were normal for me growing up. Went to school, made pretty decent grades. Then, when I was about 12 years old, someone got murdered in front of our house. These kids have been messing with this guy's son and basically egged his house one night. The guy was drunk and he came down the road looking for them in his truck. Instead of finding them, he found their uncle and he ran them over with the truck. And basically, guy got stuck in the wheel well and he died in front of our house. And that's kind of what prompted my family to want to move. They had friends in Tennessee. We were living here down in South Florida, and basically they wanted to move up there for better opportunities for us and a bigger house, stuff like that. So we moved up there. I really didn't want to move. I was kind of angry at my family. I had a lot of resentment. And inside, I had this rebellion going on, and I started rebelling against my parents, doing what they told me not to do, basically, because I thought everything they were telling me not to do in life was because they didn't want me to have fun. They didn't want me to, enjoy life. So when I was around 14 years old, I started smoking weed, just was a normal kid pretty much. But in school, I just really didn't care about anything. I stopped caring. I stopped getting on the honor roll, stopped making good grades. I was just angry inside, had resentments towards my family. And so from there on, I started partying and doing stuff like that. And somehow I graduated high school by the skin of my teeth because I really wasn't trying. But I took all the tech classes they had, and I always excelled in those because it was stuff I enjoyed. Well, I'm getting to where it starts right now when my life really turned. So I was 18. I was living with a buddy, staying at his house, and had parties over there all the time, just drinking and smoking weed, stuff like that. And basically, I never thought of killing myself before, right? I never thought of committing suicide in my life. And, my girlfriend broke up with me. We had went on vacation to Gatlinburg. I was living in Knoxville, went to Gatlinburg. And basically, when I was in Gatlinburg, I let my buddy borrow my car because his was in the shop and he needed to get to work and stuff like that. So I told him just borrow my car. And when I got back, I found out that the car was wrecked. He had totaled the car when I was gone. And when I got back, girlfriend broke up for me. Can't really remember what the reason was for, but girlfriend broke up with me. I lost all the money I had being foolish, partying, stuff like that. And when I got back, all this was piled up on me. I was feeling depressed. I went outside, started drinking, hitting the bottle, drinking some vodka, right? And this voice, in my own voice, came out of nowhere. So a random thought came into my head, said, why don't you just kill yourself? You kill yourself, you get to reincarnate. It's a secret that they've been keeping from, people. If they knew they could reincarnate, everyone would kill themselves and get better lives and get other chances. And I honestly believe that. I just listened to the thought, and I went inside, grabbed a whole bottle of Seroquel. I was on Seroquel for sleep, and basically I took the whole bottle of Seroquel, and I drank vodka on top of it. And if anyone knows what Seroquel is, it's pretty strong stuff. It's real sedating. And what happened was this. I did all that. I went in my room, locked the door, put a bookcase in front of the door too so no one could get in because I seriously wanted to die. Felt like my life was closing in on me, right? And a buddy that I got in a fight with a week earlier, we had some beef going on between us, and we got in a fight, and I was pissed off at the dude, but he wound up busting in the room, and he was like, man, what's wrong with you? What did you do? He kept begging me to tell him, right? And I finally told him, and him and 3 other people grabbed me, carried me out of the house because I couldn't even get up. They carried me out of the house, took me in the car to the hospital, got me in the hospital, and on their way back, they totaled the car. They totaled the car, and so I got there. God made sure I got there, right? And at this time in my life, I thought God was against me. I thought He hated me because a lot of bad stuff had happened, and I felt like it was just because God didn't like me or He wasn't there. And but basically, He kept me alive through all of this, and the next day I was perfectly fine. They had pumped my stomach, and I woke up to a woman saying, and the nurse saying, "Oh, this won't hurt," and she yanked the catheter out. Well, it sure did hurt, but basically, after that, I went back to stay with my parents, and they wanted me to go to like an IOP program for my depression, right, to get help with that. Sorry, it's kind of hot out here. It's really hot down here in Florida, so I keep wiping my face. But basically, I was down there and going to these groups and stuff, but I was still smoking weed, and my parents didn't like that. They're like, if you're smoking weed, you need to go to rehab to be able to stay here. And I was like 18 years old. I just got out of school, and I wanted to live there, make some money, save up for whatever I wanted to do next. Well, basically, I went to this rehab program, and I was given a different antidepressant there because they said, you should try this for depression. So they gave me Wellbutrin. And I took the Wellbutrin 2 times, and basically it burned my body from head to toe. And like seriously, like looked like burns. It looked like chemical burns. I had a serious allergic reaction. So I was sent to the hospital, and this was Vanderbilt Hospital, very good hospital. They got a lot of money in that place, and of all places they should have been able to help, but they'd never seen anyone with this condition before, right? So basically I was given antibiotics, prednisone, all kinds of stuff. They were trying to treat it, and I was there for about a month, and I literally had to put this stuff called Aquaphor. It's like petroleum jelly on my body from head to toe. It was really bad burns. I was very depressed. My life had just closed in on me. All of a sudden, everything changed. So I was given all this prednisone and stuff, and I was sent out, and they thought it would get better. And when I was out, it started getting worse when I went back to the treatment center. And albeit I was there for weed, of all things. I wasn't there for doing heroin or meth or any of that stuff, or coke. I was just there for literally weed. My parents sent me there for weed, and everyone was like, you don't need to even be here for that. And I really didn't. But when I was there, they gave me that antidepressant, and it literally changed the course of my life from what I wanted to do, and how I was living and interacting. Because basically I had to go back to that hospital. It got worse, and when I was there, I got MRSA in my IV right here in my arm. So basically they had to take a big chunk out of my arm, like a hole, and I had to pack that every day, and they were giving me Dilaudid injections every 4 or 6 hours. And Dilaudid's like morphine, it's kind of stronger, but they were giving me that, and I really liked the feeling because it took away all the pain that I was going through, right? And when I was there, I was just really depressed. They were giving me that Dilaudid. They were, I had to pack this arm every day, rip it out, spray saline in there, and then stuff cotton in there. It felt like thorns coming out of my arm every time I ripped it out. It was really painful, like electricity shooting through my body because of the nerves. I have nerve damage right now from it. But basically, I was there for about another month getting those Dilaudid injections. The last day I was supposed to leave, they said, all of a sudden they were like, well, you can't leave unless your heart rate gets below 120 or below. My heart rate was literally like 180 because all the prednisone, all the stress, I was just like really going through it. And basically, I wound up hooked, like physically addicted to this stuff. And I got out of there not knowing that. I told them, look, I don't want any painkillers, and my mom was like, he doesn't need any painkillers, he can get through it, I don't want to be on that stuff. And they didn't tell me, look, you've been taking this every day around the clock, there's going to be some withdrawals. The next day I woke up, I literally felt like I was dying. I felt like my body was crushed from head to toe. I literally was in so much pain. And my mom took me to the ER, and they thought, something serious was going on. I was obviously in a lot of pain. They gave me a shot of morphine. It all went away. So basically, when I was when I was in the hospital, I realized, look, I'm addicted to opiates. I never chose to be addicted to opiates. And it really messed with my head for a while. I got out of there, I got out of the hospital, and basically was staying at my parents' house. My doctor was giving me hydrocodone just to take around the clock, which basically just took the withdrawals away. And that condition I had was so bad, the allergic reaction, I was seeing the best dermatologist in Knoxville, and basically she waived the copays because they were like $200 even with good insurance. I was still on my mom's insurance, and she's a teacher. And basically I had to go see her every few weeks, like 2 weeks. I had to go to the place where they do dialysis and basically have my PICC line cleaned, because I had a PICC line in my arm. I had to do antibiotics through a PICC line, and I've had like 3 of those, if you can see the scars right here, there. Basically, a PICC line is a line that goes all the way to your heart, and they keep it there instead of an IV, that way for long-term injections. I had to do injections every few hours of strong antibiotics. And this went on for months. I didn't want any of my friends to see me. I didn't want anyone to see me. My grandparents came down to visit me. My parents were there. But basically, I was just popping those painkillers, and I was on Ativan too at the time, which is like Xanax, same category of drugs. And I was taking a lot of Ativan, a lot of those painkillers. I'd take them all at once sometimes. I'd just save them up all day long. So I was in so much pain. And during that time in my life, I was literally just a dark person. I was angry at the world, angry at God, and I'd been researching into like the occult and esoteric things, and I was looking for answers. I was looking for the truth. Always throughout my life, I've been asking questions and looking for the truth, and that resulted in me finding out a lot of things about the world that just aren't right. I realized that we're basically lied to about a lot of stuff our whole life, and that made me really angry inside, as well as curious, and I kept seeking. And I believe that's one of the reasons God kept me here, other than me having a testimony to give to y'all. So I was going through all those things, and I was just in a dark place. And this went on for months, and I was finally able to get into a detox center. It was the first time I detoxed off opiates, and I was getting off the hydros at the time. And I went to this detox, and I was there for about, let's say, a week, and I was feeling lightheaded. I would see bright flashes when I walked around, dots in the air and stuff. And eventually I was just like, there's something wrong here. Like, whatever's going on, like, it's just not normal. Like, I want to go to the hospital. I want to get checked out. So they sent me to, I'm trying to think of the name of the hospital. I think it's Park Ridge or something like that. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. But this hospital was in Chattanooga, and they took me there. And when I got an x-ray of my lungs, they took an x-ray of my lungs and took my oxygen. I had 75% oxygen when I walked in the hospital. And I got out of the bed and was walking around talking to the doctor. He was like, in all my years of practice, I've never seen anyone in this state be able to talk or not dead. Like, you should be dead right now, or either a vegetable or dead, but you're fully coherent and we're having intelligent conversation. So, he said, someone's looking out for you upstairs. God's looking out for you. And I haven't been told that by many doctors. Most doctors I've met seem to be like not into God, like they got it all figured out type of deal. But he told me that, and I was in the hospital for about a week and a half. But while I was there, so I went to this detox to get off the drugs, but when I got to the hospital, I was in the ICU and in so much pain, they started giving me Dilaudid shots again. So I went to get clean, and I wound up back on Dilaudid, getting Ativan 2 to chill me out. And I'm in the hospital, and basically they did a bronchoscopy, which they put you to sleep, and they clean out one lung at a time. They stick a tube down your throat, and they clean out one lung at a time, while the other one's still breathing. And I had that done. I felt like a new man when I was cleaned out. Felt really good. And basically was sent back to the detox I was at. And when I was there, I started going through this again. So what had happened in the first place was I was at the detox, and from whatever meds they were giving me combined with my bad state of health still, I got aspiration pneumonia. I was choking on my own vomit. And when I went back there, after being there a few days, it started happening again. So I said, send me back to the hospital. I go back to the hospital, and basically they tell me, they show me the x-ray. It looked like a forest growing in my lungs. Like it was really bad. And I was just really angry. I felt like, I'm trying to get clean here, and I never wanted to be on these painkillers. I never wanted to be on benzos. I never wanted any of it. And here I am actually needing it again. So, I went there. They're giving me that stuff again. And the rehab detox place wanted me to come back. They were like, you need to come back, try to get clean and all that. And I was like, no, screw that. I've tried that. And when I'm trying to get clean, obviously it's just not going to happen. I wind back up on the drugs. So it's like, I didn't want to get clean. I was angry at the world, angry at God, and I got sent back home. And basically, through all these things, the Lord was keeping me alive. Jesus, he had a plan for me. And when I was in the hospital the second time, I literally had an out-of-body experience. I was in such bad health and in such bad way, and they're giving me these meds and stuff, and I'm just in the ICU. All of a sudden, I'm out of my body, and I'm in a place that, if you've ever seen that movie Silent Hill, and I'm not recommending to watch it because it's not a very good movie to watch. It's not good for your mind watching that kind of stuff. But in that movie, there's a siren that goes off, and everything becomes decayed and looks rotted and like hell, basically. And I'm in this place that looks like that, and people are there, and they're being tormented. It's a bad place. And right away I felt separation from my family and God, everything. I was in a place that was so close to here yet so far away, a different dimension, literally hell. And not the worst part of it, but I saw a piece of hell, and it scared me. I literally was crying for my mom when I was there. And before all of this happened, when I was laying in the bed before I left my body, I seen a friend that actually wound up killing himself a year later. But I saw that friend, but he had black eyes. He was obviously a demon. And there was another demon in the room with black eyes. And basically, when I was in the hospital, these demonic spirits came in the room, and they were mocking me, laughing at me. They even stole my shoes off my feet. I saw them on the other side of the glass looking at me and laughing at me. And I was trying to tell the people that were around me, the nurses and doctors, I'm saying, look, there's people in this other room on the other side of that glass, and they're trying to tell me, look, there's nothing on that other side of the glass except it's outside. There's no room there. It's just a painted black glass, but on the other side is the outdoors. And, this makes me think of when some people are dying, they're about to die, and they see angels in the room, or, something like that. And, well, I saw demons, and I know that they're demons now today. I didn't know at the time. I thought, I thought maybe I was hallucinating or something. But this was a real thing, and it stuck with me. Everything that the Lord has shown me in life, every vision, everything I've went through, it's always stuck with me, and I've remembered it and needed it in the future. Well, fast forward to about a year or two later, I'd been going through issues and just depressed, and I'm using drugs, I'm smoking weed, drinking, taking pills still. And I just got really depressed one day. My family wasn't home. I was staying with my parents again. Now I'm 20 years old. I'm going through all this stuff, so I'm still at my parents' house. And I'm sorry for shaking this camera, guys. This is my first time making a video, but basically, I was home alone, and the same thoughts came in my head as the first time. They were like, you should kill yourself. There's no reason to live. And basically, I listened to that thought, and I went in my parents' medicine cabinet looking for stuff, and I found a whole bottle of acetaminophen Tylenol, a giant bottle from like Sam's Club or something. And I literally proceeded to take all those pills, and it took about probably 5 minutes to swallow a handful of pills down at a time. And I really wanted to die. This wasn't for any scene or to get attention. It wasn't attention seeking. I wanted to be dead, and I swallowed all these pills, and I felt hopeless. I still wasn't really believing in God at this time. I was still against the whole idea. I thought he hated me. I thought he was against me. And I swallowed all these pills, and I went in the garage looking for antifreeze. I always heard that if you drank that, you would die. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it, that you die if you drink that stuff. And basically, I couldn't find that. Luckily, I'm blessed that I couldn't find that. And I found brake fluid instead. And I know you're thinking brake fluid. Brake fluid, let me tell you, it's like thicker than motor oil. It's just disgusting black liquid. I drank it all down. Well, maybe like half the bottle. But I drank a lot of it. It was the nastiest feeling stuff, like in my stomach and my throat. It was just disgusting to swallow that stuff. But I really wanted to die, and I did that. And my parents didn't come home for about like 2 hours, but by that time I was in a lot of pain, and I was feeling bad, and they took me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I kid you not, the doctor told me in front of my parents, he said, "You waited too long to come here, and you're gonna die a really bad way. It's gonna probably be like a week or two of being in a lot of pain until your organs shut down." Acetaminophen poisoning is like the worst way to kill yourself. And I instantly regretted what I did. I felt truly bad. I didn't know about repentance at this time, any of that, but I felt truly bad in my heart. I saw my parents cry all day long, thinking that I was going to die, right? I felt truly bad about that. And basically, my family was sitting there. They were praying. I saw my dad crying. It was a terrible, terrible feeling to feel like, look, I did this. This is why they're so upset. They're worried about me, and I'm being selfish, And I truly felt bad. And somehow, some way, the next day, my organs were perfect. And again, the doctor said it was a miracle. He said, "You should have died. You should be dead right now." But I lived through that, and it's just one of the many things I've lived through. I know it's because the Lord wants me to share these things, and I've shared them with quite a few people. And what I'm telling you is true. Hell does exist, and God does exist. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you and will forgive you for whatever you've done. And, even if you've killed people, God will forgive you. Paul in the Bible, he murdered Christians. That was his job, to persecute the church, to kill the Christians. And that's what he was about. He was part of the temple, and they hated Christians, and he hunted them down and killed them. But one day he was blinded, and he saw Jesus, and Jesus told him, "Why do you persecute me? Isn't it hard to kick against the thorns?" And Paul was blinded, and he was blinded on the road to go kill Christians. But then God gave him eyes to see. He was given eyes to see, and he realized what he was doing was wrong, and he instantly changed his life. And I went through some of these things just so that I could learn, because I was hard-headed, and I didn't understand God. My whole life, basically, I thought the wrong thing about God. I wasn't truly aware of how much he loved us, and that he wasn't out to get us and persecute us and blame us for things. He's not the accuser. That's the devil's job. The devil accuses us. The devil persecutes us and makes us feel bad and puts evil thoughts in our head like that. That wasn't of God. That wasn't of him at all. He didn't want me to kill myself. God doesn't want you to kill yourself either if you're feeling that way. And just know I've been through all these things, and today I haven't felt suicidal in years. I haven't tried to do anything like that again. And I'm going to tell you one last story. I got so much that I could share. I've been through so much, and I really should not be here. It's a miracle that I'm alive. It is literally a miracle. I know Jesus is real. I know there is only one true God, and whatever the world says, they can think what they want, believe what they want, but there are facts in the world. There is evil and there is good. There is one way and then there is the wrong way. The wrong way's got many lanes, many directions to go to get to the wrong way. But the path of the believer, the true believer that's been converted in his heart, that path is a narrow, windy path, but there's blessings all along the way, and God's there to take you through it, and He's going to help you with whatever you're dealing with right now. It's not too big for Him to help you with. And I will say this, there was one more time I tried to kill myself, and I think this was like a year or so later. And at this time in my life, I was in a very weird like mindset. I was thinking of joining Freemasonry at the time. I was in a bad way, and just spiritually I was still angry, but I was questioning things. At this time I truly wanted things to get better, and I wound up in a psych ward for suicidal stuff from this. I wound up in the psych ward, and basically when I was there, I met a girl, and I just needed to get all this stuff off my chest that I had been doing, that I had done in my life, the bad stuff. I needed someone to talk to, and I never opened up about it. And I literally told her all this bad stuff that I had done, and told her how I was going through all this crazy stuff. I was having sleep paralysis happen every night, multiple times a night, seeing demons in the room, being just held down like something was sitting on me, and it was just terrible. I was going through a lot. But I'll tell you this, when I decided in my heart that I was gonna try to seek God, that I was gonna, try that way, because what I was doing wasn't working for me, I'll tell you this, I know He put her in my path. Maybe, we wound up sleeping together, and when I got out of there, we wound up sleeping together, which that's not what God wants us to do, obviously, because it's bad for our own soul. But I slept with her, but I had told her all this stuff, right? And she wound up telling her mom some of this stuff. And her mom knew a guy, and he basically, he had been through all the stuff I'd been through in a way. Like, he had literally been a Satanist. He had sold drugs, he had sold guns, pimped out women, and I haven't done all these things. I've done some of these things, but like, here's the deal. God sent me someone that was older than me, but had tattoos from head to toe of like esoteric symbols, and he knew the talk. He knew stuff that other people didn't know, and he had been on Satan's team. He was living for the world, living for himself at a time. But I'll tell you, this man was the first man I met in my life, first person that had the Holy Ghost for sure, and showed me a different kind of love. He came and visited me when I was going through all this stuff, trying to come off, I was coming off alcohol at the time. I was coming off of trying to get off pills and stuff. And I was also feeling suicidal, but I was also seeking God and starting to read the Bible. And he came and shared his testimony with me. And he was probably the only person I would have been able to receive the testimony from that led me to Jesus and changing my ways. And he had told me all these things about himself, and came for about like a week visiting me at my parents' house every day. He'd come over there, read the Bible with me, pray with me, reassure me that, things were going to get better, that God had a plan for me. And basically I heard his testimony and I received it. And even during that time, I had a cat that had tumors on his neck, right? Had tumors on its neck. And basically I was like, okay, well, if you have the power of God in you and can do things that God like helps you do like heal people or speak in tongues and all that, then please just, pray for my cat that this thing goes away off his neck. He put his hand on my cat's neck. He spoke in tongues. And this wasn't the BS preachers kind of tongues that, they're obviously speaking nonsense and it's just for show. He spoke in some kind of language that I had never heard. It made my hair stand up. I could feel that, there was something to it, and the cat didn't freak out. Cat was calm, just sitting there, and he had his hand on its neck, prayed for it in that language. He lifted his hand, and the tumors were gone. They were gone. And I'd never seen anything like that close up. I'd never seen anything personally in my life that showed the power of God in action. And it's funny that was how, I saw it by him praying for my cat of all things. But that was like that was proof to me and also to my parents, which they believed, and they're believers and always were trying to tell me, but I didn't want to hear anything from them. But basically, my parents saw that, and they had no explanation for it. And I'm sorry for wiping my face, guys. It's really hot out here. But basically, my cat was healed, and I really love that cat. I had him since I was a kid, and basically, God sent someone, a messenger into my life to give me the rundown, that I needed to read out of the King James Bible. And I'll tell you what, when I started reading out of that Bible, I tried reading other Bibles, and I know it's because my heart was in a different place and God was showing me things. But the King James Bible is the only one to this day that truly makes sense to me, and it may have some old English in it, but that Bible's not been tampered with as much as the other ones. There's like 50 different Bibles, and we're reading out of all these different Bibles. People are having different opinions, but the main thing is this: Jesus walked the earth. He was God. He literally is the Son of God and had God's Spirit upon him when no one else did at that time, because God was only staying in a temple back then on the earth, one place, and only the priest could go to that room, and no one else could see God or be with him. But Jesus walked the earth with God's Spirit. He healed the sick. He healed the blind. He cast out devils. He did all these miracles to show that he was God in human form. And basically, he died for our sins to overcome this flesh system, this flesh body. He died as a perfect, unspotted vessel, no sin on him, so that we could be forgiven. And he died. He rose again and came back, and people saw him, and they knew that he was the Son of God. These things have been recorded for us in a way that we can all look upon them. And I pray